I've been in this industry now for over a decade, and in that time I have worked with some amazing people who are running some stunning businesses, and I want to share their stories with you. But I want to share about what it's really like to work in a glamping business or a unique holiday rental. What does the owner have to go through on a daily basis? What does their day look like from the beginning to the end and everything in between? What do they do during the winter when they have a bit of downtime, or don't they have some downtime? These are the kinds of things I'm going to be talking with my guests in my new series, which is called A Day in the Life of. So this is where it begins in episode 47. So I'm really pleased you've joined me and look forward to seeing your comments in the reviews on whichever platform you listen to this podcast on. And definitely, if you are listening to this and you'd like to share your stories from your perspective as a glamping business owner or someone who runs unique holiday rentals, do get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. So, over to the episode. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals. So this is a different element, a different angle of my usual episodes. You could call it a complementary sub-series, really. I've been thinking about this for absolutely ages and only now just started to make recordings. And this is about what it's really like to be a host, to be able to accept guests into your accommodation and what really happens on a daily basis. So I've decided to have some honest banter with a few people who have been amazing, and they've allowed us to look behind the scenes, dishing the dirt on what it's really like to be a hospitality owner in this decade, and what people expect of you, those funny stories of what they've done. And so if you're really thinking about being a host yourself, this is a place where you'll be able to get an honest view of what it's like, but also to have a little bit of light banter, all those funny stories and the things that you can expect to happen to you too if you start to run your business. So if you're aspiring to be an owner in this industry, then it's going to really give you some regular inspiration. So make sure you subscribe. And the other thing I want to say is that these owners are giving their time for nothing. And it would be so amazing if you would just drop a comment into the reviews, say thank you to them for the time, but also maybe the thing that you felt resonated with you the most, something that you learned, something that, really stood out to you from what they said. And for sure, I will make sure that they get to read your comments. And, it would be really lovely to hear from you what you think of this new sub-series. So without further ado, I'm going to move over to the interview where I'm having my first chat with Sarah Hayworth, and this is all about a day in the life of her and her partner in their amazing accommodation, Wild Snowdonia Escapes, at the base of the National Park in Snowdonia in Wales, North Wales. And the things that they do on a daily basis, they have camping, glamping, holiday cottages. They used to have B&B. They have an immense amount of experience in all of these areas. And Sarah chats to me now about some of the experiences that she's had since she's been running her business, and also what they do to every winter. They look at what they need to do to refresh what they're doing for the following year and how they go through that process. So I'm really happy to share this with you now and look forward to reading your comments afterwards. Enjoy. I was just trying to think this morning, Gosh, when did we first meet and kind of get together? I was trying to figure it out. Was it at a glamping show? I know I saw you at the glamping show.
Yeah, I think we saw John, my partner, and I came to the glamping show however long ago it was, and we saw you give a presentation, and we kind of thought, she knows what she's talking about. And then I think, I got involved in one of the first courses that you were doing, and then we hooked up at a future glamping show after that, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I seem to remember. Yes, it's just so much time has gone. It's just stunning, really, how things have progressed.
Yeah, it just seems like a world away. I mean, we haven't been to the glamping show, since COVID's happened, and it just seems a world away, or that stuff now, in terms of what's happened between now and then,
Yeah, and who would have known back then, when we were all kind of chatting at the show, that this was going to happen, that we're going to have COVID, we're all going to be locked down, all the businesses were going to be forced to shut. I mean, that was just something no one ever could have thought of. I mean, how has it been for you the last few years? Because your business is a big business, and to shut that down, that must have been really quite heart-wrenching.
Well, it was a big decision for us, because we actually decided to close before the lockdown, the official lockdown, because we're here in Snowdonia in North Wales. And you may remember, in the week or two before the official lockdown, there were lots of news reports of people kind of flocking to Snowdon. It seemed like there was this feeling in the air that we must go out and climb a mountain and get out into the wild before the lockdown that everyone could kind of see was coming. And it caused a lot of problems and a lot of bad feeling in local communities. So we actually took the decision to shut, I don't know, a week or so before the official lockdown, which was a huge decision, really difficult. And then soon after, our local council, we sort of had emails from them going, please consider shutting down, which, has just seemed crazy, but once we'd made that decision, then the world started changing completely, and you just had to get on with it. But no, we're good, thank you. We've like many businesses, I guess, who offer this kind of outdoor, unique type of holiday experience that are in very beautiful and wild and coastal locations. In the last couple of years, when we've been able to open, it's been the kind of place everybody has wanted to come to in the UK. So when we've been able to open, we've managed to do that safely and happily. So we're okay, thank you. Yeah.
When you talk about your local area, Snowdonia, and everything there, I'm so desperate to visit. I've been to Snowdonia before, I've climbed the mountain and I loved it, but it was a long time ago, and I am pretty desperate to come back again, as I'm sure a lot of others are. Tell me a little bit from your perspective why it's so amazing in Snowdonia and the area where your business is based. Say a little bit about the local area.
Yeah, well, we're lucky to be in a really beautiful location in the south of Snowdonia National Park. So we're on the Malvac estuary. So as I look out the window, we're on a kind of rocky slate ledge above the Malvac estuary. So I can see water below me and sunshine on the mountains opposite, and just a few scattered farmhouses on the mountains opposite. And we've got mountains all around us, but we're a little bit quieter in this part of the national park than Snowdon itself, which is the kind of icon. In Welsh, it's the icon that everybody wants to go to. So there's been a few hotspots with almost over tourism in some places in the north in the last couple of years, whereas here, we get busier in the summer, obviously, but it's still super chilled. You can still walk up Cadair Idris, our local mountain, and you don't have to queue to get to the top. You don't have a huge issue with car parking. You could go to the beaches, and we've got Barmouth Beach just over the estuary from us, which is, you know, a very popular beach, and you can go and do all the fish, chips and ice cream stuff with a lot of other people there. Or you can go to our local beach down at Fairbourne, which has got everything Barmouth has got, but just a little bit less of it. So it's a much quieter place as a result. So we kind of feel lucky here that we've got the mountains, we've got the coast, we're near to all those attractions like the World Heritage Castles, like the Zip World experiences, like the mountain bike trails. But it's just not kind of overrun, you know. It's we're very lucky to be here.
Yeah,
come and stay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to, Sarah, definitely. And I think that that is a lovely mix. The fact that it's not overrun, but there's still lots to do, and there's still lots of beauty. It's not, you know, completely covered by houses and buildings and everything else. There's still this sense of what it really is at its core, which is this natural beauty. Yes,
I think so. I mean, when people come and visit us, they're a little bit, sometimes if they're from the city and they don't know the area very well, they're a little bit like, oh, it feels so remote, and where do you go to the shops and all this kind of thing. And I guess we maybe experienced that a little bit when we moved here 15 years ago. But you know, there's good local independent shops. You might not have a 24-hour massive Tesco or whatever, but there's nice little local independent shops. There's nice communities here, but yes, there's a lot less people. It is properly still quite a wild place. And I guess when we travel to other places where it is a lot more built up and go into the real world, as we call it, then it is a bit of a shock to the system how commercial and built up it is compared to where we are here.
Yeah, we have that a little bit where we are in this part of Devon, really raw and coastal, and you've still got the dark rocks and, you know, lots of places where you can get away from people, but you do have to drive into the cities and so on, and it is a little bit of a shock to the system when you're not used to it. Do you think that people go to you for mainly the mountains and walking and hiking, or is it a general just love being in that area and the national park as a whole?
We definitely get lots of people who are coming to walk in the mountains, or we're very lucky because our campsite gate opens directly onto the Malvac Trail, which is a disused railway line that runs all along the side of the estuary to the beaches, which is a lovely flat trail. So people come cycling along that, or they come walking along that. So people aren't necessarily, you know, really kind of gnarly hikers. They're just people who want to get out into beautiful scenery on all sorts of different levels. And then we get, you know, the thrill seekers who are coming because they want to go down a zip line across a quarry at 90 kilometers an hour or whatever. And people who just want to really relax somewhere very unspoilt as well, and listen to the bird song and just do things. We're quite lucky where we are in that you don't have to get in your car to go to places to do stuff. You can just walk through the fields and onto the trail and walk across the famous bridge across the estuary to Barmouth and do all that seasidey stuff and then walk back again, you know. So it really is a place to unwind as well.
One of my most favourite campsites is exactly the same as that you actually drive to, you park your car and you don't get in your car again throughout the whole holiday. You're constantly walking to the beach, walking to the pub, walking to the restaurant, you know, walking to go and do something on a day out. And that is lovely. It's so nice to be able to put the keys down and not think about that anymore. It really makes a holiday for me, for sure.
It does. And I'm trying to do a little bit more promoting green travel here as well, because you can get a train here, and you can get a bus from, well, a train nearby, and then a bus here, and there's a bus from the gate, and you can get bike hire and stuff like that. So we do get people coming on holiday to us, particularly to some of our glamping accommodation. They just get the train up from London, they change once, they have an incredible train journey around the coast to get here, and then they're fine. They can manage without a car here for 4 or 5 days. We have a little shop on site as well. Last year, for the first time, we started doing barista coffee and croissant in the morning. So
lovely.
People are a bit spoilt that they could come along and still have a really good flat white or something, and their croissant, or order some sausage rolls to take away for their packed lunch, that kind of thing. So yeah, we try and make it so that people don't have to go herring off all the time in the car. They can just hang out here and chill a bit. Yeah.
So Sarah, tell me a little bit about the accommodation that you've got, because you mentioned there your accommodation. I know that you've got a bit of camping and glamping and pods or wooden cabins, something like that. Tell us a little bit more about what you offer.
Yeah, well, we've got a big building which used to be a Victorian slate cutting shed for the quarry just down the road. So within that building, John and myself live. There are 4 holiday lets, one of which we own and 3 of which we manage for their owners. And in this same area, we've got about half a dozen camper van pitches. Then we've got a much wilder area of about 40 acres of land, ancient oaks and wild meadows and streams and beautiful old dry stone walls and things. And dotted around that area, we've got more kind of wilder style tent camping, that people can bring their own tents and have campfires. And we built 2 traditional yurts when we came here. So they're kind of nestled in a silver birch glade. And then over time, we've added shepherd's hut, which we built, which is called Jones the shepherd's hut, after the shepherds, the Jones family that used to keep their sheep here. And we've got 2 more modern style yurts, Idris, which is a very remote location named after our local mountain, and then a yurt called Tommy, which is named after a famous tailor who was born just over the estuary in Barmouth, who made the suits that the Beatles are wearing on the Abbey Road album, and lots of really flamboyant suits. So we're trying to give a sense of place to people who come here. So we've got one called Tommy, and then we've just built 2 new wagons, which we call our quarry wagons, because they're in the area where the old slate quarry was, and they're named after the size of roofing slates that the miners would cut. So they had different names for different sizes of roofing slate. The biggest ones were called Empresses. So our biggest wagon, which has got a lovely ensuite and stuff, is called Empress. And then a slightly smaller one is called Small Duchess, because they had kind of duchesses and small duchesses and broad ladies and all these quirky names. So we kind of thought they were a bit fun. And so we called our quarry wagons that.
I love that. I love the fact that you've named it after so many elements of the story of where they're located. And for me, that makes it so much more memorable. And do you actually share that with your guests in some way? Do you tell them the background and where the names come from?
Yeah, it's on a web site in the marketing. And then if they want to delve a bit more deeply into those stories, then that's in the information they receive when they book the accommodation. We use a kind of app to give people a lot of information. So there's stories associated with that. Yeah. And some people pick up on it and other people don't. But it helps with the marketing, I think, as well, to have that story to tell. And with the quarry wagons, it also helped differentiate the area that they were in, because they're in quite a different area from our more kind of remote glamping options. So we wanted to try and convey that to people so that they made sure they booked the right place for them, really.
And you used to do a bit of bed and breakfast as well as the cottages?
Yeah, we used to have, well, when we first came here 15 years ago, We did some renovation work, and in our first year, I've no idea how we managed to do it, but we did B&B for 12 people. We had 6 rooms. Then we did some more renovation work and made some rooms en suite and nicer. So for about 14 years, we did B&B for 5 rooms, 10 people. But last year, when we kind of honoured all our existing commitments after having to shut and postpone people for COVID and stuff, we actually decided to hang up our oven gloves. And after doing about 25,000 breakfasts, we decided that we would focus more on the self-catering and the glamping options and expanding that rather than the really hard work of doing B&B.
Yeah. So was it for that reason, because it's hard work doing the B&B, it's a little bit more hands-on, you're having to cook a lot of breakfast and do a lot of rooms, and it's often a quick turnover, so you're having to do the changeover within 24 hours, 48 hours at a push maybe, but with the glamping they're slightly longer stays and they're much more they prefer their own space and to do their own food and all of those things. Is that the reason you did it?
Yeah, there was a few reasons really. I mean, when we first decided to go into this business, we were really looking for a campsite that we could put yurts on. That's what we wanted to do. And that's what we used to bore all our friends at parties with, the story about how we were going to do this, even though at the time we were living in a small house in Brighton and doing completely different jobs. They're like, yeah. So anyway, so that was always the game plan. And then we found Graig Wen and we completely fell in love with the location. And the only way it was much more than a campsite. And the only way it would work really is doing the B&B, and we embraced that. My partner John's a very good cook, so we embraced that. But I guess the aim was always to perhaps do more on the self-catering side, because it is not quite so intensive, and it is a little bit more at arm's length for people. We used to live in amongst our B&B guests, and that was quite full on. It's important to have your own space. I think we've really valued that. But also, I think when COVID happened, B&B guests were the most nervous in terms of rebooking. They're perhaps slightly older market. They were a little bit more nervous about rebooking. It was harder to deal with all the COVID procedures with the B&B as opposed to people in their self-contained accommodation. So, and then people booked, but then it was always the first that had to be shut down, the first that had they were the first to cancel because they were nervous about it, or because they weren't going to be able to go out and get meals because hospitality was shut down. So that meant it was the weakest part of our business really during COVID. And, we were also a bit more nervous about that close contact with people during that time. But it's also just a hard business decision that the profit that you can make on 5 B&B rooms compared to the profit that you can make on glamping or self-catering accommodation, that the margins are just so much smaller with B&B, and your costs are going up with food, with wages, with electricity. But there seems to be a bit of a ceiling about what you can charge, certainly in our area and with the kind of B&B that we're offering. So it was just becoming not profitable. So that's when we decided to invest more in doing our quarry wagons, which are kind of like a bit like shepherd's huts, really. And they've nearly paid for themselves within a year,
Wow. So tell me a bit more about that building project then.
So we did that in the winter lockdown. So this time last year, we were working on those, and we funded that through the COVID loan scheme, the one that you pay back over 3 years, whatever. So we decided to use that to build the wagons, and we we're really lucky that we've got a little local team of people who are good at building and maintenance just from the next village. So John and I very much had the vision about what we wanted to create. And then we worked with Phil and his 14-year-old son who wasn't at school, so who came along and got stuck in with the build. We got the timber for them from the Dovey Forest, so the forest just over the mountain. So kind of getting the labour and the materials wasn't really a problem, and it was really nice to have that focus during that winter lockdown to be doing something productive and creative and exciting, because it was kind of a long dark time, wasn't it?
It really was for a lot of people, and I think some people are still finding it a dark time, especially as now we shifted our lives, as you said, everything went full stop, and then suddenly we're all expected to go back to life as normal, but with this thing hanging around, making our lives very inconvenient, and for some unsafe, and so on. So my own daughter has COVID at the moment, so we're going through that. So it's a struggle for everybody, but it's having a focus of something positive that you're going in the right direction, you're excited about what that's going to bring you for the future. This is something that's brilliant to hold on to, and I'm so pleased when I heard that you did this lockdown build. I was so pleased to hear about it, because it really does help to refire you and get you re-energized and back into your business again, and especially as you moved away from something that you felt wasn't quite working for you anymore, for your particular business model and the lifestyle that you want and everything else, and you decided, okay, we're going to do something else. And it's a fantastic decision you made there, and you got in there as well before all the prices of the materials went up too badly, because that's the other thing that a lot of builds are suffering from at the moment. I'm sure it is. No, I mean, when we've done things like that, we've always been quite focused on really cracking on with them and getting them done over the winter well, but quickly, so that we can open them, they can start earning money as soon as we can reopen in the springtime, So with the wagons, we started building them end of December. And the ensuite one, we were able to open the following April. We couldn't open the one with shared facilities due to the COVID regulations until later on in May, but then that was open, and then they were just booked pretty much solid right through till end of October. And then the other nice thing about the wagons is that they're in a part of the site that we have a license to open to right through until early January, whereas other parts of our site, because we're in a very sensitive location here in the national park, our license is limited until end of September or end of October. Where the wagons are, we can keep those open until early January, so they were full right over Christmas, New Year, winter weekends and things as well, which is great for our business. Absolutely. And how many cabins do you have in total now?
So we've got sort of 3 shepherd's huts, 4 yurts, and we have a bell tent during the summer that we put up as well. So kind of 8 glamping options, I guess.
As well as your cottages as well, so you have holiday cottages and camping, your normal everyday camping, wild camping. And I love the idea of wild camping in amongst silver birch. That's one of my favorite trees. So I'm going to have to definitely come and try that out. I do love the Scottish back to basic camping. I love that, as well as glamping.
We have a friend who's a bushcraft expert, and he's done about birch tapping with the silver birches.
I haven't heard of it, no.
When there's only a really small window, but when the sap is rising in the birch, in silver birch in March time, which is usually when we're putting the yurts back up again for the season, if you tap in with a kind of like a cork to the trunk of the silver birch tree, and then you put a flexible pipe, like a brewer's pipe, then you can siphon off a little bit of sap from it, a couple of bottles, and it's really supposed to be a real rejuvenation drink. So we've done
Wow.
that occasionally as a little ceremony to get the yurt set up for the year.
Oh, what does it taste like?
Sort of woody water.
Is it sweet? Does it have like a
It's
sweet?
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I've
sweet.
never ever heard of that.
Birch
Never
candy.
heard. No, we the only thing that I know about the silver birch is that they seed really easily. So we had a
Yeah.
few silver birches in our field, and they would drop seeds, and all these baby silver birch would come up. And if you didn't dig them out, then you just would have a forest of silver birch, and it would be at the detriment of the larger, older trees. So we were often going around taking out these smaller ones that really shouldn't have been there. But yeah, lovely. I love their leaf, how they are so beautifully silver on one side and then just a normal leaf on the other. And it's just something about it, something about the name of that tree and its beauty. I really love it.
I think, especially in the winter as well, there's these, you see them at sort of dusk and their trunks are just shining, and the low winter sun catches them. The branches, even without the leaves, they're all sort of purpley and beautiful. Yeah.
I've had a little bit of a thing about trees recently because I've been reading a book, The Secret Life of Trees.
Yes, I've dipped into that.
So I can't remember the author. I'll have to put it into the show notes.
I think
it's just the whole way that they communicate with each other through their roots, through the ground, and there's this other life, there's this other worldly thing going on that we're not aware of. Until you dip into the book and it tells you about it. It's really quite stunning. So I see trees in a different way. Yeah, it is extraordinary. And I love that. And the fact that, what we do and where we're so lucky to be based for our work is around all of this nature. And you learn so much from being in it. And it's very... after you've been depleted after so many years of what we've all gone through, it really does help to build back your strength when you're back in nature again. So do you find that people do that when they come to you, that especially if they've come from the city, they're a little bit wired, a bit fast, their life is still in the fast lane? Do you find by the time they leave, they're very different?
The next day they're very different, or 4 hours later they're very different. It's something I really like seeing. And sometimes, people are driven a long way in a car with a child who's been sick en route or whatever, when they're stressed, and you kind of think, right, I'm just gonna leave you to just go and find your space, find your pitch, find your accommodation, settle down, and then we'll have a chat later. They come back and the look on their face is completely different. And especially when people go down to the estuary and they come back and they're a little kind of spaced out, going, it's so beautiful. And I know that is that feeling, because when we came to see the place, when we were first came to see Craiggwen, and by the time we walked from the top where the building is down to the estuary, that's it was sold to us. We were in love. And it really does have that effect on people, and not just, I think, just the quiet as well, the peacefulness. And we're in one of the core areas of the Snowdonia Dark Skies Reserve here as well. So if we're lucky with the weather and the stars are out at night, the night skies are awesome. And we get people coming who are like, I've never been anywhere so dark. Like, the dark here is darker than anywhere else, and I've never seen so many stars. And it's hard to find a sense of wonder in life, I think, sometimes, for many people. And I think that sense of wonder, where it just literally takes you out of yourself, it's lovely to see that happening here, and it's something that I treasure, definitely.
Yes, because you're gifting it to them, the ability to be able to stay in that's such an amazing place, because that kind of thing isn't available to everybody. And so I think it's amazing that
that's really important to us, actually. And we've fought planning battles on the basis of that it's really important that this these kind of places aren't just for the privileged few. I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do hope that we start seeing more of that actually through our national parks, that they begin to open up and allow people to share their spaces a little bit, more frequently, and with maybe a little bit less of difficulty getting there, jumping over barriers and through hoops. Let's put it that way.
I think it's been a fantastic opportunity in the last couple of years for national parks to reach out to a whole different sort of people, younger people, a more diverse lot of people coming. We've certainly seen that here, and that's a fantastic opportunity to welcome those people and give them some knowledge and skills about how to operate in this kind of environment, because it's a very different environment to what some people are used to. We had people coming to us last year and going, what's an ice pack? What do I do with this? And I've no idea how to light a fire, and all these kind of things. And, it's nice to be able to not be patronizing to those people, but to be welcoming and embracing of that,
Yeah, how amazing. And you're giving them experiences they'll never forget as well, especially those memories of the first time that you had that experience. Those are the memories that you're going to take through life with you, that you're going to tell your children about, and then you're going to hopefully teach them about when they get older. And we all know that if we love something, we will really fight hard to protect it. So if we love nature because we've spent time in it and we've really connected with it, we're going to fight hard to protect it. And we all need to be doing that, don't we? So this whole ethos of keeping people out of national parks because we need to protect it, that's not how to protect it. The way to protect it is to allow people to connect with our national parks more, love them more, and then want to protect them themselves. And so that's certainly where I come from, and hopefully others do too. And it certainly sounds like you do. And so that's amazing. And so you've gone from, was it Brighton that you moved to come to where you are now? And so you've done that, and now you're an award-winning site. So you recently won an award. How was that?
Yeah, it was really exciting. We won the Go North Wales Tourism Best Camping Glamping Caravanning Site Award at a big glitzy do in Snowdonia back in November with performers and big tables and everything. It was very exciting and lovely to be recognised, because we were in really good company with some other quite big businesses that have developed very nice glamping sites or very, very high quality kind of campsites. So it was nice. We've always done everything ourselves on a shoestring. So it's nice to be recognised. I think they were impressed by our links with the local community as well. And we've been lucky to have guests who've been very kind enough to give us lots of lovely reviews in the last couple of years as well. So it was nice. It's nice to have a little fillip like that sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And that's a lovely way of being recognised for the hard work that you put in every day, and the soul searching that you've done in all those decisions you've made over the years since you first dreamed up your idea, probably, of let's move to Wales, let's leave the city, let's start something really different. And now you're winning awards. I mean, that must be incredibly rewarding for you. It really must.
Yeah. I mean, when we left Brighton, we literally sold our house and left in a camper van and travelled around the country for about a year looking for the right place. And I had my own little business before doing marketing and things. And I think some people just thought we completely lost the plot, and now they've since come and stayed and gone, yeah, I can see why you did it. And then, having that kind of credibility of some awards is nice to have. Yeah.
So you've got so many different types of accommodation, and to me, having run or helped to run a business for years, I know how much is involved in all of that. So do you have an army of staff helping you? And tell me a little bit about what it means every day. What's your day? When do you start? When do you get up in the morning? And what's the kind of first things that you normally have to do on a general kind of seasonal tourism season day? Not today now, because we're in February and it's very quiet, but on a normal day, what would it be for you in your business? What would talk me through your day?
Okay, well, so John is my partner, and we work full time on the business, and we play to our strengths, I guess. So he's definitely the early bird in our partnership. So he's up super early at like 6 o'clock, going around a campsite and checking everything's okay. And I sort of come to gradually, and maybe
few coffees,
coffee, and check the social media, and maybe post something first thing in the morning. And then John and I get together to open up reception about 8:30. And we're now doing, John did barista training. So we're now doing barista coffee and croissants from about 8:30 in the morning till about 11. So we're there doing that, and John's making coffee, and I'm sort of chatting to the customers. It's a really nice time of day, actually. People come down for coffee and talk about what they did yesterday and what they're going to do today, and you can give them some tips and that sort of thing. And then at the same time, I'm checking the emails that have come in, looking at what the arrivals are looking like for that day. And then we'll have 2 members of staff come in about 9 or 10 o'clock. And one of those might then be going down to the tent camping fields so we offer, because you can't drive onto our tent camping fields, they're all car free. But we have this service where we'll meet campers at their pitch the day they check out at a certain time, and they stick all their kit onto our little off-road vehicle, and we drive it to their car for them. So we sort of offer a lift on and lift off service. So a member of staff come in to start doing that, and then another member of staff will take over reception from me, and I can go and get my breakfast, and they can deal with emails and things. I might have a bit of time in the morning to deal with inquiries from groups or tricky ones that the staff can't deal with, or I'm doing some marketing work. And then about 11:30, I'm usually involved in going off to do some cleaning around the site, whether that's the campsite or whether that's helping do a changeover in a yurt. John and I usually catch up about 1 for lunch and talk about things that need to be done, or just refuel. Then after lunch, if we've got a lot of arrivals that day in our holiday accommodation, I'm the super fussy one who goes around double checking it all and making sure that it all looks perfect and the flowers are nice. And if it's somebody's birthday, there's bunting up in the yurt and all those little extra things that help make that wow factor when people arrive, I hope. And then we might be involved in welcoming people to the accommodation. We do reception again between about 4 and 6. So I might be helping with that, or I try and grab a bit of time to go and sort of depressurize and walk down through the fields and along the estuary and take the dog for a walk and just kind of clear your head a little bit. You know, you need some bit of time to de-stress sometimes, don't you? And then, reception shuts at 6, and I get the washing in off the line and put the washing away, do a bit of a check around the site, then a bit of family time, dinner. And then I'm the late shift person, or I share that with a member of staff when we're super busy. So about 10:30 at night, I have a wander around the whole site and just make sure everything's okay and nobody's being noisier than they need to be. And again, that's quite a nice time. I usually walk around with the dog, and I might have a chat with people and look at the moon and just, chill for the end of the day, really, and then get up and do it all again. That's what it's like, isn't it? Especially the last 2 years, I don't know, there wasn't so much a lull at times, you know, like sometimes between the bank holidays or just before the school holidays clicked in, that there's usually be a bit more of a lull. But the last 2 seasons, it just be like bang, bang, bang every day from when you open till the autumn, really. So you need a bit of stamina, don't you?
Yes, yes, you do. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? That you're so much of the year is quieter in terms of, you know, the winter, autumn, and early spring, and then when it really kicks off, it's busy all season. And I know from speaking to many owners, they say they're incredibly grateful for the quieter time in the winter. You know, a lot of people may say, but how do you survive? And it's, well, you know, financially you make all of your money in those bigger seasons, and then you're really grateful for that quiet time that you can rest, to recuperate and recharge your batteries ready for a new season. So it's definitely, the conversations I'm having in September, October are very different to the conversations that I'm having with owners in the spring. They have a different head on their shoulders after a long season working with tourists. But
it goes really quickly over the winter, especially if you're doing a big maintenance job or a building project or so. Before you know it, it's February again, and you know, you're looking at getting open again quite soon.
Exactly. Well, you give yourself all these projects in the winter. I'm the one, I like projects in the winter as well. I think it's a really brilliant time to do it. And I often, when I do a project, I think back and I go, oh, thank goodness I did that last winter and I've got that sorted now. So you're, you know, gathering the fruits from your labor of doing all of that during the winter, and now you've got fully booked cabins. But how do you actually work out your work-life balance? How do you decide to or when do you decide to take a break and get some downtime? Because you obviously need some downtime, and if it's the two of you together, how do you both take time off?
We've always been once we managed to start taking on some staff, we've always been quite religious about taking a day off a week together. So we usually try and take a Tuesday off together, and get off site for a bit and go for a walk or go and do something. I mean, I say we take a day off, you know, we always used to cook breakfast before we had that day off, or we might be doing reception for a bit before we go out, and then we're back for 5 to take over from staff or something like that. So it's not like, you know, we don't get up till 11 o'clock in the morning and then we laze around all day. It's kind of a part day off, but it is a day where we get out together, you know. I think that's important for your relationship and your sense of perspective, and to go off and see what else is happening in your area, or go off and see what other people are doing, and just enjoy the reason that you're living here, really.
So do you take a holiday?
We do try and take a bit of time, so again, either we do that in January, or we do that once we've got staff set up for the season, because John's birthday is actually in June, so we usually go on a little camping trip in June before the season kicks off in full. We have a little busman's holiday because I love camping. I found out recently that my great grandmother, they had a traditional Bardo gypsy caravan that the family all used to go and hang out in at the weekends in Lancashire. I mean, God knows what happens to it. So I think it's probably in the blood.
It is in the blood by the sound of it, for sure.
So we do try and get 4 or 5 days in the tent in June sometime. And again, it's you pick up a lot of inspiration as well as go and have a nice time, really.
Absolutely.
So that's that. I guess that's how we do it. And John goes and does yoga one evening a week, and I do agility with my dog. I train my dog, and we do kind of agility training with a local club once a week as well. So that helps you switch off. And it's fun.
Yeah, more than anything, I think that is the thing, isn't it? It's not necessarily about getting a break from the physical side of things. It's about getting a break from the mental side of things, and not having to think about all those things to do. You're switching off. You're not having to think about the next job for the next however long it is. You're having a break. It really does make a massive difference. So as part of your time since you've been running your business, I'm intrigued, and I always know that someone's got a funny story somewhere. They've got a really juicy bit of a an experience that they had, or someone's behavior or something that they didn't expect and it happened, that they thought was hilarious, or just kind of tickled their fancy a little bit. Have you got a story of something that's happened to you since you've been in the world of holiday accommodation, glamping, B&Bing and holiday cottages? Tell me about that.
So many. People just never cease to surprise me what they do, or that they suddenly turn up with ferrets or a cockatoo, or I don't know what we were doing when we were still doing the B&B. We had a couple who were actually staying on the campsite in a motorhome, and they turned up in their gym jams at about 9 o'clock in the morning on the doorstep. Oh, fine, it's very casual, no problem. The grading inspector is coming around in about an hour and a half to grade us, but fine, and I'm like, oh, we've locked ourselves out of our hire motorhome. They literally locked themselves out of their motorhome and couldn't get back in. So we just had to kind of like look after them until the hire company could sort it out in their gym jams, wandering around the B&B guests, explaining to the grader why there were random people in their gym jams wandering around. And then one time we had BBC Country Files staying with us, because they were filming in the local area, and I've been organising it for weeks with their fixer, because about 14 of them were coming to stay for a couple of nights across all our accommodation. And it was hilarious because the local ladies at the market where we got our jams and things from were going, is Matt Baker coming? Is Matt Baker from Country File coming? And we're like, oh, well, he might be, but there's a big question mark over it at the moment. And I'm like, oh, it would be really good if he came, wouldn't it? We're like, yeah. And then it was like the fixer said, oh no, he's not coming now, he's got to do the one show and he's not going to be able to come up here, so he's not coming. So I'm like, oh, never mind, well, you might as well have the best room in the house then that we were going to give to the celebrity, which is, oh, I feel nice. So she has the room with a lovely view and a lovely bath and blah blah blah, best room. And then about 2 o'clock in the morning that night, there's the emergency intercom goes, and John, who doesn't usually do front of house, it's usually my strength, but as I say, he's the one who can get up at early hours of the day, shuffles down to the front door in his dressing gown to find Matt Baker standing on the doorstep going, I'm ever so sorry, there's been some sort of mix up, can I stay?
Oh no, what happened? So you had this celebrity on the doorstep and somebody from his production team had taken his room.
So we had like a cold room that we hadn't had the heating on because it was empty. We're like, you have to go in there. But he was getting up again so early in the morning. It wasn't that bad. And he was very complimentary about our sausage sandwiches next day. So he was lovely and it was fine. But it was just like, oh, you couldn't make it up, could you?
I swear there's definitely a book in this. There's a book idea in all of this to be able to get all of these funny stories from everyone who's ever run a tourism accommodation business, because there's so much.
There's so much, and so many of them are just kind of not repeatable as well. Yeah. But it's fun, what I love about doing this is you meet all sorts of people and people never cease to surprise you.
Yes. And I always find that the honeymooners are quite entertaining as well.
Oh gosh, yeah. We've had, we're not really, for the yurts and things, yes, honeymoons, but for the B&B rooms, we don't particularly market ourselves as like a honeymoon destination. But I do remember once somebody requested that their partner's name would be spelt out in rose petals on the bed. We're getting our member of staff who's usually cleaning compost toilets. Right, job today. Hilarious.
Oh my goodness me. So what is next for you then, Sarah? What are you planning to do? So you've got your cabins and that's going to keep you very busy. Are you just going to run things as they are and look to entering in some more awards, or are you going to be doing something else? Have you got another project on the horizon?
Well, we've invested a lot of money over the winter in drilling a borehole because we've always been on a private water supply, and with climate change, even in North Wales, we get very different weather now, long dry periods. So kind of to secure our water, we've just invested this borehole. So we're sort of connecting that up. And then the other new accommodation that we've just coming online is a cottage, actually off-site. It's 5 miles down the road in Dolgellau, that we've just started letting out, that belongs to John's dad, but he no longer lives in. So we're renting out a sweet little cottage in Dolgellau, and that'll be a challenge because it's not on site, and it will be a slightly different market for the people who want to go and stay in that, the people who want to come and stay here at Graig Wen. So that's my next little marketing work that I've got to do. But that'll be fun, and we've got less and less availability in our holiday cottages, and so it'll be good to have this new choice that people can go to.
Oh, it sounds great. And as you say, another project for you to get your teeth into, something to look forward to doing, and flex those creative juices in your mind.
Never a dull moment.
No. So if anybody wants to come and check out your website, where do they need to go? And obviously I'm not very good at pronouncing the name. Graig
Wen. So our accommodation is called Graig Wen. Graig, kind of like Craig, but with a G, Graig Wen. And it means white rock, because there's a lot of quartz around our site from the slate quarrying. So Graig Wen, it means white rock. And our website is Graig with a G, Wen, graigwen.co.uk.
So for anyone out there with a pen and paper, it's graigwen.co.uk. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, it's been so amazing to speak to you today, Sarah. And, I'm looking forward very much to seeing where you're going to go in the future. And I'm definitely going to come and visit, because Roy, my husband's come up to see you guys because he did some of your pictures, your lovely pictures.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't stopped talking about it. And since then, of course, COVID hit. We haven't been able to get away. It's just been crazy busy as well in between. So, but I'm certainly looking forward to coming to see you very soon. It would be really
you'd be really welcome.
I'd love to. And Roy keeps saying to me, I'm going to climb up the mountain. I'm going to do it. So I might even join him for that as well. So
there's tough mountains, there's slightly easier mountains, there's plenty of choice, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's lovely to see you. Thank you, speak to you very soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing all of that with us. And I know that you would have benefited so much from that behind the scenes view of a day in the life of someone who runs a glamping, camping, B&B business or unique accommodation of some description in the tourist industry. Now, if you would like to be featured on the podcast because you have a story or two you'd like to share, maybe a funny thing happened to you as a host running a business with your guests coming and visiting, and you'd really like to share what happened, do please get in touch. I'd love to make that wider so that people can benefit from what you share. And you know what, this is something that I'd really like to do more of in the future, so please don't hesitate to get in touch. The kind of things I'm looking for are, your experiences during the health crisis. If you've had any eureka moments recently or something that have encouraged you to think differently about a part of your business. Obviously, a day in the life. So the kind of things that happen to you, and giving you an opportunity to spill the beans and give a bit of a funny story, something unexpected that happened to you in your daily business. And, where you might be thinking about you changing up your services and why you're doing that so others can benefit from your inspiration. But also personally, how do you find that whole work-life balance that is so important for all of us? And then anything else that you have found really interesting and you'd like to share. So get in touch. And also, if you're listening to this, do please leave a review. I read every single one of them, and I'm so grateful for everything I receive. I'm looking forward very much to sharing this new complimentary sub-series with you, A Day in the Life of, and look forward to sharing more with you soon.